as a fiduciary, our job is to act in the best interest of the clients, and that's why we have many tools in our toolbox, not just a one size fits all.
And welcome into Your Game Plan for Retirement, brought to you by Northwestern Ohio's resource for a common sense approach to planning for your money, your finance, your investment, and retirement future. President and founder of McIntire Retirement Services, Chris McIntire, here with us. Always a pleasure to see you, Chris. And as we do, starting off the program with your financial tip of the week.
Yeah, Peter, I think right now we're in harvest season up here for all the corn and the soybeans here in northern Ohio, and I think a tip of the week would be if you have money outside of your IRA account. We've had some recent volatility. You might want to look at harvesting some tax losses to help you offset future tax gains. An example would be I bought a stock for $50 and it might be at $30 right now, a significant loss. You could sell that stock and then get the capital loss that you can use to offset capital gains in the future. Those carry through even to your beneficiaries and whatnot. So we call it tax loss harvesting. That's the tip of the week.
Or washing gains, Chris? Is that another way to put it?
Yes. Yep. It certainly is. So that way, if you had a stock that had a pretty significant loss and one that had a pretty significant gain, you can use one to offset the other, like
And
Peter said. Yeah.
a good way to kind of manage and rebalance the portfolio to keep it in alignment as well as be tax efficient and strategic.
Yeah, yep, you're exactly right. It's been a funny kind of stock market here for 2025, still driven by that magnificent seven. And, some of the dividend stocks and value stocks have certainly lagged behind. That won't always be the case, but good time to take advantage of, maybe buying some losers and selling some winners.
Well, a good tip of the week to get us started here on your game plan for retirement. Understand how to tax loss harvest. There is even a way to take advantage of losses inside of a portfolio. We don't love to see them, but if you got them, there's a way to use them strategically. So we will get into more of the program here with Chris McIntire, but I do want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, if you've got questions about your money, your investments, your financial and retirement planning, you are welcome to be in touch with McIntire Retirement Services, Chris McIntire, your resource, and he will help you construct your game plan for retirement, the plan that addresses all of the aspects of how to plan for lasting financial confidence and stability, bringing all of the pieces, income, investments, taxes, healthcare, legacy, all together into a written plan, your game plan for retirement. And if you'd like to take advantage of that offer, that valuable opportunity, pick up the phone and give McIntire Retirement Services a call, 419-332-0532, 419-332-0532. Also, more tips of the week are always available on the YouTube page, and on the website you can find where they all are, McIntireRetirementServices.com, McIntireRetirementServices.com. So, Chris, appropriate, I mentioned it without thinking, but constructing your game plan for retirement, the theme of today's program, constructing your plan, and how building a financial plan is actually much like a construction process. Can you explain?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one I can really relate to in a previous life as well. So if you're thinking of, I'm going to build a house, okay, well, how do you start to build a house? All right, well, I need a set of plans or blueprints, okay? If you want to build a retirement plan, okay, you start, at the beginning, not the end. And so you need to have a plan or a blueprint for how am I going to get into retirement and through retirement, depending on what phase you're at right now as you're listening to the show today.
You don't just order the pallet of bricks and start stacking?
Well, we're in an era right now. It's kind of ironic that a good buddy of mine who might even be listening to this show is building a house, and he's a little bit older and has some experience, and they were talking to the architect, and everybody uses trusses nowadays, and the architect and my friend wants to build custom. So instead of using trusses, he wants to stick build it. We call that, and the architect said nobody under the age of 60 knows how to custom build and use just sticks. Everything is trussed and kind of prepackaged. So to your point, your retirement plan isn't prepackaged. It needs to be custom built in a lot of cases.
And building it strong intentionally, not just throwing it together. Chris, this is why we start with the vision and create the plan to achieve it. That's like having a blueprint. You don't just start building, you have to plan it and map it out, show where all of the pieces come together. That is the blueprint. No builder starts without a blueprint, whether it is a house, an office, or a skyscraper. You have a blueprint first that maps out where things go and helps you with the actual building construction process, knowing what comes first, second, and last.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And before they start digging the hole or laying the foundation, right? Typically, you have an engineer that signs off on those documents as well, and you might have to pull some permits and whatnot. So, our neighbor is building a house right now, and he's a contractor as well. So, they were in there, they laid the foundation. They let that foundation set for several weeks so that before they could put weight on it, like the walls and all of that, so it doesn't hurt the concrete. You want to do the same thing with your retirement plan. You want to lay the foundation, and that foundation would be, okay, what is my guaranteed income coming in? Do I have a pension? Do I have Social Security? What is my filing strategy? So, your foundation could certainly be for your retirement plan. What's my income going to be between myself and if you're married, your spouse? What are the options for taking those pensions and so on, Peter?
And in the ground underneath also over time can shift. You've got to constantly check on that foundation as well. You start with a foundation. The foundation is what's going to provide lasting support and stability, allow you to build on top of it. But you need to make sure that you don't start seeing cracks in that foundation over time either, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at the skyline of New York City, and the tallest buildings are where there's the best bedrock for their foundations of those tall buildings. And that's the same thing you want to do so you don't develop cracks in your walls and things like that as time goes on. And I say that as someone who lives about 50 feet from a marsh.
Yeah, makes getting down to that bedrock and that foundation a little tougher there. But the foundation is going to help prevent the structure from wobbling when markets wobble. The foundation, Chris, you mentioned it, built in your financial life on the reliable, guaranteed income that you can count and depend on.
Yep, no question about it. The most important part of building the house is the foundation, Peter.
And then we want to start reverse engineering the process, Chris. This is kind of okay, we've got this vision. Now, how do we bring all of the pieces into it to make that possible? You don't start with the roof. You have to reverse engineer the process. Builders often sort of start at the end, solving for the vision. And likewise in our financial life, solving for the retirement income first.
Yeah, absolutely. Begin with the end in mind, if you will. And when it comes to constructing a home, you're gonna lay that foundation. You're gonna build the walls. And those walls have to be a certain height because you know how high the roof needs to be and whatnot. So a lot of customization to that. You insulate those walls so that it protects you from the cold or the storms and whatnot. Same thing with your retirement plan, right? You're insulating using safe money strategies or other things that can help you create income, so that your plan is as solid as it can be. So you want those walls to be, built on top of a nice sturdy foundation and, to make sure that that plan and that house is as solid as it can be.
Uh, Chris, we often talk about David Gaylor's book, Income Allocation, not asset allocation, income allocation. David was the one who sort of coined the term income gap, right? And in construction, we don't leave gaps because a gap is going to make things unstable. And that's why we measure twice and cut once to make sure that we're filling that income gap.
Yep, absolutely. And, we always make a joke that, man, I measured twice. I've cut that thing twice and it's still too short. So,
Indeed.
yep.
Yeah. Can't add more by cutting, right?
Yep, absolutely. But, good custom builders are certainly going to measure things and lay them out. My dear buddy who does custom homes and whatnot, we were looking at a job site that he was on, and he actually had a template laid out on the ground for something that they were going to build. And so they put it together conceptually by drawing out, actually on the floor of the house how this would work, and it was almost a template for things that they were going to use down the road, and just taking the extra time and doing it correctly, because when you build a house, or you talk about the rough in phase and then the finish phase, right? The better the rough in is done, the better the finish is going to be. It's hard to make drywall look good if the walls are crooked, right? So same thing with your investment plan. If the walls aren't built correctly, the finished product, may have some rugged edges, and the paint doesn't look good, if you will.
When we're talking about our financial plan and constructing our financial plan, Chris, and we talk about measuring twice, what kind of things are we measuring twice here? I mean, our end result is only as good as the assumptions that our plan is based on, right? So we're sort of testing these assumptions and looking at things and double checking risk tolerance and social security claiming strategies and inflation and taxes. Are those the kind of things that we're going to try to measure twice before we move in the home, so to speak?
Yeah, great examples there, Peter. What's the timing for my Social Security benefit? What's the best pension option? If we're using dividend stocks for creating income, hey, what's the track record of those companies on paying those dividends? And actually, we like to look for increasing dividends as well. Those are good ways to use the analogy: measure it twice, cut it once.
And again, we're talking with Chris McIntire. We're talking about constructing your plan. And of course, at McIntire Retirement Services, that is your game plan for retirement. If you'd like to get that plan put together, construct that plan, or double check, just do an inspection on the plan. Pick up the phone, give McIntire Retirement Services a call, 419-332-0532, 419-332-0532, 419-332-0532, or online at McIntire Retirement Services McIntyreRetirementServices.com, McIntyreRetirementServices.com. Now, Chris, you help people manage the money, the investments, the finances, but there's also important other professionals that come into the picture and the conversation here. The legal planning is done with an attorney. The taxes are filed with an accountant or a CPA. And it's, again, much like the construction process. There's generally a general contractor, but the electrician isn't doing the plumbing, isn't doing the roofing, isn't doing the drywall and painting. The team has to come together and coordinate.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you don't want your electrician to be the first one to come in and run wires everywhere, because it's a lot easier to move a piece of wire around a big piece of plumbing, for example. So the order of operations is also very important. Who comes in? Do we talk to if we're looking at creating an overall retirement plan? Look, that's going to involve a CPA, because we get into Roth conversions, but that usually comes in a little bit later, right? We got to build the plan, get the plan in place. So, you need your general contractor, your advisor, to say, okay, here, let's get the plan in place. We'll bring in the CPA then, once the plan is in place, to talk about tax implications of Roth conversions. We can talk to the estate planning attorney. Do we need to get a trust in place, or just your basic wills and powers of attorney and some of the essentials that we all need as well? And then, as people transition from, employer sponsored health insurance to Medicare, for example, then you need to have somebody who knows how to handle the Medicare choices and things like that as well. As my wife is transitioning into Medicare right now, we're using our health insurance referral specialist that we like.
Chris, I've seen some videos where the order of which contractor comes in has not worked out well, and they get very frustrated trying to put the different pieces in place when something has been done in the incorrect order and not coordinated properly. You help individuals and families make sure that all of that is coordinated in the correct order and properly, financially speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have some of that construction background in me, so I can relate to all of this. And like I said, it's a hell of a lot easier to run a wire around a piece of plumbing than it is a piece of plumbing around a wire. Yep.
We see successful people who have done well and don't have that estate plan in order, right? And or on the other hand, people who have done a trust but haven't funded anything into the trust. This is where we're talking about the different elements, the different professionals do need to coordinate their effort. You could have the best financial planner, the best attorney, the best tax or accountant professional. But if they're not coordinating their efforts, Chris, you're not getting the best out of your planning team.
Yeah, you're exactly right. An unfunded trust doesn't do you any good. And what we mean by that is, yep, an attorney's going to create the documents, and are they going to be the ones that actually put your house, retitle it into your trust name, your car titles, your checking accounts, updating beneficiaries when as needed, because sometimes you add your grandchildren as they get older, or you remove them depending on how their behavior is as well. Right? That door swings both ways. That's a fair analogy, Peter.
And Chris, one tool is also not the solve all. There's an old saying in construction: when all you have is a hammer, every job looks like a nail. But like in the financial world, if we tried to handle everything with just one financial tool, we would not get optimal results.
Yeah, absolutely. And another analogy is, and we have this part in our college classes that we do is, if your best friend is a butcher and you go down to the butcher all the time and the doctor says your cholesterol is too high, probably a pretty good chance your butcher's not going to send you down to the fishmonger to get some salmon or something like that. So, as a fiduciary, our job is to act in the best interest of the clients, and that's why we have many tools in our toolbox, not just a one size fits all like Peter says. You can't use a hammer to drive in a nut and bolt.
Yeah. So you're more the dietitian rather than the butcher,
Yes,
financially
exactly.
speaking.
Finance, yes, yep, and telling people, we even coach them on, look, you can have all the wealth in the world, and many people spend their younger years sacrificing health for wealth, and then their older years using their wealth to buy their health, and that is hard to do. And Peter and I both can relate to that.
Yeah, well, certainly one tool, not the answer for every job, whether it's a hammer or a screwdriver. It's not going to be everything that you need to build the house and to have your vision come to fruition. You do need to start with the plan. You need to work backwards and make sure that you are measuring twice, cutting once, addressing your assumptions, the risks that you face, and then using the tools that are available out there. A well-diversified portfolio, but personalized to your goals and visions. And that is what the game plan for retirement is, ladies and gentlemen. The plan that Chris McIntire and the team there at McIntire Retirement Services offer to help you put together, construct, or inspect your current plan. Home inspections are good on a regular basis, not just when you're moving in, but to troubleshoot and find anything that is possibly going wrong, issues in a home or building. Inspections occur on a regular basis. You should also inspect your plan, and Chris and the team will help you do that as well, or construct it from scratch, the game plan for retirement, custom build it, if you will. Give them a call, 419 332 0532, 419 332 0532, 419 332 0532. You mentioned the roughing it out and then the final walkthrough, Chris. That is also something we should do. We should kind of test run the plan before we actually get into it and are living in it and with it, just to again see if there's anything that we need to augment or shift.
Yep, you're exactly right. And that's what, having years and decades of experience certainly helps a seasoned advisor here, help you make the best decisions possible. And like Peter was relating to, look, houses need maintenance, retirement plans need maintenance. Last weekend we had a good weather day here. So, I was caulking windows to keep moisture out of them. My house is less than 10 years old. I'm not really worried about the roof right now. It looks good. Roofs are designed to last a little bit longer. If you buy high quality shingles, but you got to change your furnace filter. You got to do, many of those types of things, and you clean your carpets and all of that. So everything needs maintenance. So do retirement plans. And Peter, on occasion, we hit a financial crisis like 2008, right? That can also do damage to your home, your financial home, if you will. So, sometimes you have to go in and do some repairs as well. A screen gets torn or a window gets broken. I mean, those things do happen, and that's why you have insurance,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
help with those repairs. So, your insurance might be, having a safe strategy on the side, an annuity to help you with income or something along those lines, to have some insurance in case something goes wrong with the basic plan, right? Makes perfect sense.
Chris, even when you have a paid off house, no mortgage, you still have taxes and insurance. And likewise, in retirement, you are probably still going to have taxes and insurance that are a necessary part of your financial planning.
Man, they sure are, and taxes from those IRA withdrawals, just like you're going to have property taxes, the higher your value of your house goes up, the more in taxes you pay, the higher your IRA withdrawals go up, the more taxes you're going to pay as well. And God forbid, you spend some time in a nursing home, and I tell you that with my dear mother in a nursing home right now, and how expensive that is. And sometimes you ask the government for some assistance and things like that. So, that all comes into play. This journey we call life is in retirement is a lot like, building and constructing a home and maintaining it throughout your lives as well. Very relatable. And for me, that's easy to do. And Peter and I are both hockey fans. It is hard to compare, a hockey game to a retirement plan, but we'll
Yeah.
try it one of these
Yeah,
days.
I haven't found an analogy for icing yet. So, but Chris, much like the larger your home, the higher your tax bill. In retirement planning, the larger your nest egg, ultimately, the more you're likely going to pay in taxes. But there are ways to help to address that and manage it and mitigate it and bring it down to control the tax bill that you will ultimately have on your retirement. I think, though, much like your home, a lot of people can tell you the value of their home, but not tell you how much they will pay in taxes on that home over their lifetime. A lot of people can tell you their retirement account balances, but have not quantified how much they're going to pay in taxes on that retirement balance.
Yes, yep. And you get a good year in the stock market, and you say, "Hey, I'm up 15% for the year in my IRA. It's looking wonderful." It's like, all right, what is the government's claim on your IRA account? And so you have to be careful with that. It's like a change order when you move a wall that's already been constructed in your house, and you're going to change that. Those change orders are very expensive, so you want to make sure that you're, like Peter said, kind of beta testing your plan, as you're walking through that. And that's what software helps us do with some of our illustrative things we can do and say, look, here's what that looks like. If inflation goes to 7%, this is what happens to your nest egg. And if income taxes go up another 5%, this is what that looks like over the course of your retirement. So, we can relate a lot to the construction process, as we discuss retirement plans and whatnot as well, buddy. And it's something that's very relatable to the people listening to the show today.
Well, I also think about the codes that builders must follow, right? You wouldn't want your home built with the same plumbing and electrical codes from the 1950s or 60s. The regulations have changed. And likewise, I mean, we had the Secure Act 2.0, the One Big Beautiful Bill, and this is all within just the last 5 years. How the codes and the laws determining our financial strategies do change, and we must update the plan with them, Chris.
Yes, it's like, you remind me of a Christmas story where he's trying to plug in the Christmas tree lights, and the look in that circuit box, and they said, well, it blew the 15 amp fuse, so put a 30 amp one in it. And I mean, that amperage is relatable to the size of the wire that's feeding it. So yes,
Yeah. Um,
everything needs updating. Sometimes you do have to update your electric service and water lines and all of that as well too, bud.
So for the financial parallel, Chris, I mean, are you helping people stay up to date with law changes like the Secure Act and what to expect from the one big beautiful bill as it impacts taxes for this year and next year and moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. And the Roth conversions and things like that for clients that have some room to make some of those changes. Yep. And making sure everybody's taking their required minimum distributions. That's what's super busy right now here as we get ready to close out 2025. Hard to believe.
Yeah, there are deadlines in construction. There are deadlines in financial planning. The analogies could just really go on and on here, Chris.
Yeah, at some point your building permit expires, and if you don't have all your inspections in place, you can't get an occupancy permit, and you run that as well with your retirement. If you run out of money, you don't have an occupancy permit anymore.
Well, just like building a house or an office or a skyscraper, constructing a financial plan takes vision, it takes structure, the right tools, inspections, permitting, ongoing maintenance. The stronger your foundation, the better shape you'll be in for lasting confidence. Your team of professionals needs to come together to make and create and then achieve your vision. Chris, you had that team. You're the general contractor. You put together the game plan for retirement, really addressing all of these aspects, helping people identify, envision their vision, and then identify the way to achieve it.
Yep, and we got a lot of good support behind the scenes that not everybody looks at every day, and it helps make our jobs certainly a little more efficient, and we want to be efficient in the way that we help people manage their retirements.
At McIntire Retirement Services, they are here to assist your resource, ladies and gentlemen, for your financial investment and retirement planning. And at McIntire Retirement Services, on the program, always making one big offer to help you address the issues that are absolutely most important to you, to help you craft your game plan for retirement, a personalized plan with long-term vision, diversified strategies. Specifically, if you'd like to learn how to retire with confidence, how to create income, how to manage and pay less in taxes, give a call now. Take up the offer from Chris McIntire on helping you construct your plan, your game plan for retirement. 419-332-0532, the number to call, 419-332-0532. Get that blueprint, get that plan in your hands to give you that lasting sense of financial confidence so that you can enjoy life, not worrying about what each and every dollar or what the market is doing every day. Chris, we always appreciate your time here on the program. It was a fun conversation today. Look forward to one each and every week, but you are there as the resource for so many proactive planners, savers, and investors, but so many more need the help, need a plan put together. So we appreciate you being that resource.
Yep, my pleasure. Everybody have a nice weekend out there. Thank you for listening, and may God bless America.
Tune into Chris McIntire's full radio program and visit McIntireRetirementServices.com for many additional valuable resources, including other great episodes of Game Plan for Retirement with Chris McIntire. Be sure to subscribe.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.